Hey guys, it's Aiden, and I'm gonna make this video comparing these two utility knives. First off, we have one I got from Old Orchard Beach. It's pretty cheap. Has an H on it. And here we have a Swiss Army knife. Just regular old Swiss Army knife you get at like Dick's Sporting Goods. Now, let's start off by seeing what each of them have. Starting off with the cheaper alternative. Alright. As you can see, let me just put the camera down for a second so I can flip this one out. It has a saw blade. Pretty sharp. When I do this, it doesn't really break the skin, but I can definitely feel it. Now let's compare it to the saw blade on this knife. Here it is. Now this is the saw blade on the Swiss Army knife. You can see it's a lot longer by a couple notches. And when I do this, I can feel a little poking into the skin, just a little bit. So, let's compare them by grabbing just a piece of wood. Cutting into it. So, here, there's the Swiss Army knife. And right now I'm going to test the Old Orchard Beach knife. As you can see, with just 4 strokes, it did really no damage. If any at all. Time for the Old Orchard Beach. Not the Old Orchard Beach. This is the Swiss Army knife. I'm sorry. I got them mixed up. Let me just put this down while I do 4 strokes. And as you can see, those 4 strokes did an okay amount of damage. I wouldn't say it's the best I've ever seen. So, for this round, I'm going to give it to the Swiss Army knife. So now, let's test the regular knife. I'm going to be doing 3 tests on these knives because they have 3 things in common that I can actually test. They have a blade, a saw blade, and a pair of scissors on them. So, time to test the regular blade. Here we have the Swiss Army knife blade. You can see my phone reflecting in it. Hello everyone. And here we have the Old Orchard Beach knife. A little less reflective. Now I'm going to test these by just stabbing it into the wood and seeing what happens. That's the Old Orchard Beach. Time for the Swiss Army knife. And they fell. Looks like I'm gonna have to do a little bit of wiggling to get that one out. Alright. Here's where the Swiss Army knife went in. It's a good sized hole. And here's the Old Orchard Beach knife. You can't tell by the camera, but the Old Orchard Beach knife went a little bit deeper. But the Swiss Army knife made a little bit bigger gash in it. So I'm going to have to give it to the Old Orchard Beach knife on this one. Alright. Now, it's time to test the scissors. And I'm going to test this by trying to cut this piece of birch bark. So, I've put the camera down or my phone to get out the scissors. Alright, here are the Old Orchard Beach scissors. I'm going to just try to make a cut. That's interesting, isn't it? It doesn't cut. That's the damage the Old Orchard Beach scissors made. Time for the Swiss Army knife scissors. If I can find them. Here we are. Now, you can see in a second that the Swiss Army knife scissors are a lot bigger than the Old Orchard Beach scissors. So, I'm going to cut right next to the Old Orchard Beach where it tried to cut. And look at that. All the way through. A perfect cut. While the Old Orchard Beach scissors didn't do anything. I'm going to have to give this round to the Swiss Army knife, making the Swiss Army knife the winner of this knife test. So, to shame the Old Orchard Beach knife, I'm just gonna throw it over there. Crown this knife the winner. Peace.